What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm bringing you my Beelstarmon deck list that I have been using and posting on the channel recently. Big shout out to my boy Ice Boy, my teammate, who has helped me by supplying me with pretty much the entire deck, so that way I could actually play it. But this deck I have been having a ton of fun with. We have been refining it a little bit in the past couple weeks that we have been playing it, and now I'm at a point where I really enjoy this list, so I wanted to share it with you all. So if you wanted to play some Beelstar yourself, you have a good starting list to go off of. But as always, we're going to break this down one card at a time, so let's get on into it. Alright, so starting off with the Digitama, we have the 4 Demi-Meramon, and that's our only egg, and that's just because we want to be getting the draw and trash. You don't really need more than 4 eggs. A lot of the times you could go to a 5th egg, but I don't think it changes that much, so you don't want to dilute your eggs. You just want this draw 1, trash 1, so you can pair that with the Gabumon and the scatter mode, be able to get 4 cards into your trash off of 1 deletion, and so it is very nice, but it's also just good if you just have something like just a rookie like a Gazimon or a Psychmon, and you want to swing it in, it goes down, you get the draw 1, trash 1. Demi-Meramon is just ultimate consistency. Alright, now getting on into the rookies, we have the 4 Gabumon from BT2, and this one is just like the best rookie in my opinion because you have on deletion draw 2, trash 1, so it just gives you so much draw when you pair that, like I said, with the Demi-Meramon and the scatter mode. It helps a ton, so I want this at 4, so that way I can just get the draw 2, trash 1. You don't have to have the scatter mode, you could put anything else on top of it, like a promote or a Ogremon, and then when this goes down, you get that extra draw, so this card is super staple. Then for Floodgates, I'm playing 2 Gazimon and 2 Psychmon just because they are Floodgates. They're very nice. Gazimon, I don't think needs too much explanation. Psychmon can be a little weird because Psychmon can hurt yourself, but the thing is you can just Digivolve on top of it before you go for Beelstar, or you can swing it in and have it go down, and that's fine, but it's really nice to have on your opponent's turn so that way you can slow them down. Beelstar is an aggressive deck, but it's also a control deck at the same time, so you do want to be slowing down the game at times, so that way you can speed up later and be more aggressive with those Beelstars, so do like the Floodgates. Then we're going to be having 1 Entmon from BT6, and if you wanted to cut a rookie, this is probably the one that I would cut. This does work really well, obviously, because you can trash a card early, and you can get a Beelstar back in the mid to late game, but it feels the least impactful. The Floodgates having the all-turns, the Gabumon having that inheritable, and the Dracmon, which we're about to go over, I think has a better on play, so this just feels like the least impactful rookie. I don't think you necessarily have to cut it, as I haven't cut it, but if you did want to make changes and cut a rookie, this is definitely the one that I would cut. And then we got 1 Dracmon on play, return 1 purple option card with a play cost of 1 or 7 to your hand, and we are never grabbing 7 cost options with this. You want those in your trash. You probably already have 7 cost options in your hand as it is, so putting more into your hand is never good. What we're using this for is going to be for the Calling of the Darkness, because it did get restricted down to 1, so being able to play this lets us recycle it, get it more, which helps bring back scatter modes of Beelstars. It helps delete your scatter modes so that you just get those draw. Calling is super insane. Deathclaw is also a valid target, but Calling is the main, more important card to grab. And finishing off the rookies, we are going to have 2 Sistermon Blanc. A lot of lists were playing 3. I just cut down to 2 because I didn't really feel like there was the room for the 3rd, but if you wanted to cut down another rookie to put this in, you could. Like I said, you cut that Entmon if you want, but on play you get to trash a card and draw 2, so this is very nice because you get to put a 7 cost option or something that you want in your trash, like a Genkaku Promote, into your trash, be able to draw 2, and then you have a 3k body on the board that can either swing over a rookie or swing into security and put on pressure. So this card is very nice, but I don't think it's as crazy as a lot of other people do. Now getting on into the champions, we're going to start off with the 1 Vilemon, which is mostly there just to recycle with your Nailbone. I was playing this at 2 just because I did like the blocker, but this card feels so clunky at a lot of times. There's just so many positions where the 6k blockers are just not what they used to be. They're not as efficient anymore, but there are times when you play out Nailbone and it is very nice, but as far as Digivolving up, it doesn't feel as good a lot of the time, so did cut down to 1, which lowers your consistency of seeing it and actually playing it off of Nailbone, which is something to note. But for the most part, I don't think Vilemon is super necessary. It's just very nice to have, recycle with Nailbone, and then just have that blocker, so playing it at 1. Then next up, another card that is played at 1 of a lot of the time, but I'm playing at 2, which is going to be that Genkakumon Promote. And I really like 2 Genkakumon Promote because you can play it from your trash with Nailbone and get that extra swing with Rush, but the Rush play works really well because you can play a 3 cost, like let's say this Dracmon, be able to bring back your Calling. You can pop one of your missed memory boosts, be able to Digivolve into this, and then you have Rush. And so there's multiple games where I've just won off of popping to go to 5, playing a 3-cost rookie, digivolving into Kinkaku Promote. You swing because you have rush and you have game. So I like it at 2 personally. It gives you a lot of aggression, and also this is the main card that you want to be seeing off of Nailbone over something like Vilemon. So playing it at 2 gives me a higher consistency of seeing it and getting it into the trash. For scatter mode, which I feel like there's not too much to say here, on deletion, draw 3, trash 2. This is the main fuel for the deck, which is really going to start pumping us, getting those options into our trash, so that way we can play out Beelstar. This is an auto 4 of, because it's pretty much the best card in the deck, as long as you don't swing with jamming. And to finish off the champions, I am playing one Ogremon, which is a card that was put in the list, taken out of the list, and then put back into the list, and Ogremon's a card that I think is kind of personal preference, because I know a lot of people who don't like it, but I ended up really liking it because, yes, there's a lot of times where you can trash a card and then you just go down on the first check, so the security attack +1 doesn't matter, but I don't really see that being an issue, because what we're using Ogremon for is, 1, a way to just get an extra 7-cost option to the trash, but the main thing is we need more valid targets to be able to go on top of our Gabumon rookie so that we can get that draw and trash. So yes, you would prefer to have scatter mode because of all the extra draw and trash, but you don't always have scatter mode in your hand. Kinkaku Promote isn't the most impactful card on its own when you digivolve unless you need that rush, and Vilemon you never really want to attack with because you lose 2 memory, so Ogremon is a very good card to swing. Even if you go down on the first check, you are essentially trashing 1 card from the effect, and then you get the on-deletion effects of the Demimeramon and the Gabumon, so I really like the Ogremon as a 1-of. It's definitely not crucial at all if you don't want to play or you don't like Ogremon. Like I said, I do think it is a personal preference, but I'm a really big fan of it. I just think it fits the deck so well. Then, of course, we'll be having 4 Beelstarmon, which is a card that doesn't need too much explanation. We have been playing this deck since BT6, but the amount of aggression that you can have with Nailbone or defensive power with any of the 7-cost options that you have gives this card so much versatility. Being able to play it for super cheap, like 3 or less, or even 0, just makes this card very, very powerful. But one thing you have to note is that it is reduce its play cost by 1, so for each card. So Psychmon, cards like that are incredibly annoying, which is why we're going to be having some cards that can delete those lower cost rookies, those floodgates. But that is something you have to keep in mind, that those cards are very annoying for Beelstar because you do reduce. But yeah, there's not much to say here. This card is incredibly powerful and the whole reason for this deck. And to finish off the Digimon, we are going to be having 2 DeathXmon, which I don't think there's too much I have to say here. This card just does basically everything. And since we are playing Beelstarmon, which is aggressive but also very defensive, you are going to have time to be able to set this up. And you can technically digivolve this over Beelstarmon if you want. If the on play is going to cost 12, you can digivolve for 6 and get the same effect. So those things are very nice, but DeathXmon is just so very strong in basically every deck, especially slow ones like this. Now to move on into the options, and we are going to have a bunch of just culmination of 7-cost option cards, and yes, there is a lot of 1-of 7-cost options in this deck, and that could be lower for consistency, but the thing is all the ones that you really want to be seeing, which are mainly going to be Flybullet, Nailbone, and Cocytus, will be at a higher number. And then there's other things that are very nice, like for example the Howling Crusher, which we'll go over. These cards might be useless in some matchups, but because there is so much draw and trash in this deck, you can just trash these cards from your hand, be able to reduce your Beelstarmon, and then you never have to think about them. So unlike other decks where you could play a tech card for a specific matchup that might be completely dead in another matchup and it just feels terrible in your hand, with this deck you just get it out of your hand and it's out of sight, out of mind, and you just reduce your Beelstar. So that's why there's going to be a couple of 1-cost option cards that might not be as strong as the ones that we're playing 2, 3, 4 of. So the first option card we're going to be going over is the 1-of Gwaltschwarmer, and this is, you can play it if you have a Digimon 3 Musketeer in its type on the board. So if you play Beelstarmon, you can play this without color requirement, but it's on play, delete all Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less. So this is going to affect your own Digimon as well. But one thing to note is unless you have DeathXmon on the board, you can't actually play this out of your hand, which is why we are playing at a lower amount, because you just want to get it into your trash. And then when you play Beelstar, if that's what the board asks for, you can play the Gwaltschwarmer. This card is very strong. We saw it be very powerful when it was first released back in BT6, and we saw this deck being played. Obviously, the game has changed a little bit more to being stack oriented and having just bigger play cost than 7, so this card has lost some of the power that it had back in BT6, but it's still strong enough that, like I said, the 1-ofs are nice because you can just trash them if they don't do anything. Next, we have the one Howling Crusher. We are going to be having a decent amount of blue option cards and Tamers, and I like the one Howling Crusher mainly for decks with the Greymon X Antibody Inheritable. There are some other matchups like Bloom Lordmon where stripping Inheritables could be very nice, or Jessmon. It comes up sometimes, but this is mainly for those Greymon decks with the Greymon X Antibody. So just the one of Howling Crusher. Again, this is probably the worst card in the entire list, but it's never been a problem because in the matchups where it's good, it's insane, and in the matchups where it's bad, it's just in the trash. Then we have one Plasma Decker Launcher, and you could go up into this. It does return one of your opponent's Digimon with a level 6 or higher, but the main thing that we're looking for is the security, which is the same as Cocytus Breath, which is just going to return one of your opponent's Digimon. But the reason I'm only playing one of this is because we are playing the 4 Cocytus Breath. It is less restrictive because it just returns one of your opponent's Digimon, as to where this one has to return one of your opponent's level 6 or higher Digimon to the hand. So, you know, sometimes you want to return a level 5 to your opponent's hand, whether that be like the blue Flare Metal Greymon or something. Those cards want to be bounced, and so the Plasma Decker Launcher is a bit inconsistent, so I like the Cocytus Breath a little bit more. But when playing the 4 of this, I wanted to go up into another bouncer, and so the Plasma Decker Launcher just fits that very well. Then we have the one of Trump Sword, which this card is not as strong as it used to be, and honestly, when people swing into security with and hit this card, more often than not, I don't delete anything because they are suspended because they swung. So this card can be pretty bad, but the thing is it's still pretty necessary in the deck because it can delete things like Gatekeeper from D-Reaper, but most importantly, DeathXmon. Being able to just delete something off the condition of being unsuspended is very nice because there are some things like level 7s that are a little bit harder for this deck to be able to delete, and so you have to bank more on things like Cocytus Breath and bouncing, but those cards that have effects when they on play, you don't want to be bouncing as much, like the Gatekeeper or the DeathXmon, so having the Trump Sword is much stronger, but this card is definitely fallen off from what it used to be. Next up, we got the 4 of Fly Bullet, and this is very standard. This is our main deletion card, be able to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with level 6 or lower. This is why hitting level 7s is a little bit hard, because a lot of the times our removal is based off of things like Fly Bullet, because we're going to be seeing this way more often than any other option because we're playing it as a 4 of. But it is very nice with the things like the Cocytus and the Trump Sword and the Plasma Decker Launcher. They all work together to be very defensive and hit pretty much anything depending on how the board state is, but the Fly Bullet is our main form of removal and it's the most consistent, so that's why we're playing it at 4. The one of Calling of the Darkness, as previously mentioned, did get restricted down to 1, so we can't play anymore, but we did add in that Dracmon to have the attempt to recycle it. But this card is just very good, like I mentioned before. You want to be grabbing your scatter modes, you want to be grabbing your Death X's, Beelstarmons, whatever you need at the time. Maybe you need a Floodgate or you just need rookies to go back and raising. Calling just works super well in this deck. Then I have 3 Missed Memory Boost, and this is the card that I think I enjoy a lot more than a lot of other people who play this deck do. I think this card is absolutely insane. Being able to gain extra memory in this deck has come up so much. Being able to just have 1 or 2 Missed Memory Boosts in a game helps you extend your turn so much, especially when you are playing Beelstar and you're playing it for 4 or 5, so you can't yet keep turn. It really changes the momentum of the game, and so I went up with the Missed Memory Boost. This is the main reason why I'm only playing 2 of the Sistermon Blanc, which we went over later, is because I preferred the Missed Memory Boost. We're still getting a draw, we're still trashing cards, but now we're gaining memory, which is going to help with our main core of the deck, which is that Beelstar, or things like being able to get up into scatter mode, being able to play Rush. There's times where I've just pop 2 memory boosts and hard play the Ginkaku Promote for Rush, and again, the Missed Memory Boost helps with the play a rookie, Digivolve into Promote, swing with Rush combo. So I've just found Missed Memory Boost to be incredibly powerful in the deck, so I wanted to go up with it, and so we're playing it at 3. Then the 2 Deathclaw, which I slightly mentioned before, and this is going to be for those floodgates like Psychmon, Solarmon, Shakurimon, because we are going to be reducing our play cost, so we need to get rid of those. A lot of lists, I think, are playing 1 or 0 of Deathclaw, but I really value Deathclaw because not only does it help you get through those rookies that are very annoying, just being able to delete one of your level 4 opponent's level 4 Digimon and then delete your scatter mode, so that way you can draw and trash, has been insane. There's times where, as we all know with the scatter mode meme, you swing with jamming, so your scatter mode survives. Then you can Deathclaw it to delete one of your opponent's Digimon, still get the draw and trash, and you got the security check. So Deathclaw has come up a lot. There's a lot of reasons to play it. I personally really like Deathclaw, so I wanted it at 2. Then we got the 2 Nailbone, one of the main cards in the deck. going to be able to play a purple level 3 and a purple level 4, and then the security, you just get to play one purple level 4 or lower, but the on play, you get a level 3 and a level 4, so you're able to bring out scatter modes, you're able to bring out promotes and swing with rush, you're able to bring out Vilemon, so you have blocker, and then you have multiple strong rookies, whether that be the floodgates, or you just want to bring out a Gabumon, so that way you can digivolve something on top of it and swing in and get that draw and trash. Nailbone is really good. I found 2 to be just enough because you really only need to find a 1 and get it into your trash, and with how much drawing there is going on in the early and mid game, you are very easily able to get a Nailbone in there, and once you have 1 in there, you're able to go with it. So you could get away with playing this at 1, but unlike the other 1-cost option cards, I want to make sure I see Nailbone, so by adding a second one, you're essentially doubling the chances that you see it, but again, you are just going to be trashing it anyway, so I think 2 Nailbone is fine over 3. And for the last option card, we're going to be having the 1 Happy Bullet Showering, which just deletes all your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. And just like the Gwaltschwarmer we went over earlier, if you have a Digimon 3 Musketeers in his traits, you can play this without meeting color requirements. So when you play your Beelstar, you can play this without having to have a red source. And this card is also very nice because it can go wide. But the thing is deleting your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP could mean so much. Your opponent could have a 1000 DP Digimon on the board, or they could have a 13,000 DP Digimon on the board. They could have only a Death X on the board, and then that's something, like I said before, the level 7s can be annoying. Maybe you don't have the Trump Sword, but you have this, and it's going to delete the lowest DP. Well, the only thing they have is a Death X that gets deleted. So Happy Bullet Showering is very strong. I think it's the least inconsistent, or the most inconsistent of option cards in this deck, just because it is something that needs Beelstar to play color requirement, and then unlike Gwaltschwarmer, you don't know what's going to be deleted going into it. Happy Bullet Showering, like I said, could delete something with 1000 DP, that doesn't matter at all, or it could delete a 15k Death X, so it is a bit inconsistent, but because of that, it's both very strong and very weak. One of is fine. If you play more than that, you're going to clunk it because you need to play the Beelstar to be able to play it. Then we are going to be having 3 blue Tamers because we have all these blue option cards. We can't just play them off of Beelstar because they cost 7. We are going to need a blue source to play these blue option cards, so we're going to be having blue Tamers, starting off with the Kyoshiro, which is going to be our memory Tamer, which is very nice because we want to be, we don't want to be getting choked. That's not going to be very helpful in a deck like this. And then when you swing with a level 5 or higher, if you have 7 or less cards in your hand, you can suspend it to draw 1. So this really helps with cycle. You can play out the Beelstar or Death X swing if you have 7 or less, suspend it to draw. If you have a couple out, you can stack them, of course, and get extra draw. And I was just playing these 2 Tamers, but recently moved up to a 3rd with the 2-drop starter deck Matt. And this card doesn't come up as crazy with the memory gain. There are going to be times where you get the memory, and there are times that you don't. But the main thing is just being able to play a memory tamer or play a blue source for 2 to be able to play these option cards is very big. I was just posted a video of me playing Beelstarmon versus EX3, and in that deck I had to have the missed memory boost. I had to set up the missed memory boost. I had to pop the memory boost to go to 4 to play the Kyoshiro, so that way I could then Beelstar and play the blue source. Well, if I just had the mat, I could have done all that without having to pop my boost and stuff like that, and I just think even outside of that scenario, you can fill out memory curves with this. You can choke your opponent to 1 with this. But the main thing is there are times where you need the blue source. There are enough blue option cards in here that you want to find the blue source. I found 2 Tamers to be too inconsistent, and there was too many times where blue cards would be dead in my hand when I needed to use them, or I needed to use them off of Beelstar, so I wanted to go for 1 more. It was really up between this, a Sorajo, and Kyoshiro, but this mat just made way more sense because Sorajo is something that you can't do too much about yourself, and your opponent can easily play around it, and it's cost 4, so mat just made a lot more sense. Cost 2, get that blue source up, and sometimes you gain some memory. But that is going to be the list. Let me know what you think down below, what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you would change. But this is a deck that I will continue to keep working on throughout the format because I think it's very fun. I will definitely be playing it in the next future formats as well, because the more I play it, the more this deck really just feels like something where every game feels really different, which is very refreshing. But if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be bringing you even more Digimon content. And I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!